Holbrook New Media.
Greetings. Welcome to the Holbrook New Media audio feed. We do audio, video, content creation, and that other stuff. HolbrookNewMedia.com. Today on episode 15 of the Geoff and Jeffrey Show, here are some of the things we are talking about. Geoff added some more bling to the screen on the video version of the show. Geoff listens to podcasting while walking to see his mother, while Jeffrey listens while driving to and from work. Some say in the U.S. that Skype has been more reliable lately, but Geoff says it has been woeful lately for him. A discussion of the political systems of both Australia and the U.S. And, of course, because right now the president has term limits. They can be in there, for 8 years, for 2 terms. The senators and the House members can just go forever. And so these long-term lobbyist relationships that they make, the deals they make with each other, all this kind of stuff going on is all set up based on the fact, and then they gain and they make more money, themselves get more personal power because they're in there so long. If you did term limits, limited everybody to a couple terms, maybe the way the president is, you would eventually have citizen legislators. If you would like to receive the show notes in your email with links for things mentioned in episodes, go to HolbrookNewMedia.com. On the right side of the page, there is a place to subscribe to the blog. We hope you enjoy the show.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to the weekly catch-up number 15. See, I said that without hesitation this week. And joining me from West Virginia, well, it might be West Virginia, it might be somewhere else this week, but let's see when we get our co-host in, Jeffrey K. Holbrook.
Greetings.
He's from Live Animals.
This piece of paper from work I made some notes on the other day. I found it just now. It was in my sound booth back here. I'd written some, I did a voiceover for a guy who's starting a podcast, and it should be launching, in about 5 days. Anyway, I was going over some notes with him, and so all that stuff's written on the back, and I just found it in there a second ago, and I just thought that was funny.
Well, it's always, especially when I'm expecting to see you there, I thought, what's that that's coming there as well? Did you see what I had done the first thing? I was sat in one room, and you were sat in another, because I came in on, was it Monday night? I thought, oh, gee, I haven't scheduled it, but I must have already done that a week ago. And then, so I was sat in the wrong one, and I thought, I'm sure it said Jeffrey K. Holbrook was in the weekly catch-up number 15, and it's not there because I had 2 of them named the same.
Oh, well, so it'll allow you to do two identical names? Really?
Yeah, it must just assign them a unique number or something. It says, well, if you want to call them the same thing, because I suppose it doesn't know it's the same people.
Well, I noticed at the top of the screen, it has Jeff Blanchard, the weekly catch-up -15-3A2SJQ.
Oh, okay.
So evidently they assign each one a unique.
I saw that. Yes, it does. Yeah, I've never noticed it. So it probably says, I don't care what you call it. I'll put my unique number on it. It's just for you to read it on your end. So
that must be what it is. It must be.
But I got carried away with the editing because when I got that and started it took forever to render, and then it got that late. Then I couldn't be bothered uploading it. So it cut, and then I thought, oh, gee, I haven't organized the podcast for this week. Then I did it, but I must have been so efficient and did it on the Thursday after we did the last show. So
okay, just went ahead and got it out of the way, and then got it out of the way again.
Did you see the what I did for the recording?
Yes, I did. I saw that you took the other 2 sides there and put that was great. I thought I popped back the email to you and said, I sent and said, hey, there it is. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow. I sent you another email and said, hey, I really like it. This is good stuff. I mean, you got all that magic you can do on the videos. I think that's really, really cool. So do you do that in Audition or
no? I did that in Final Cut Pro.
Okay, Final Cut Pro. And then you have, of course, our names and stuff at the top and bottom, and then on the side you fill that into. That's great. That really, really looks cool, because there's a lot of people getting on YouTube and talking, but that really has a professional edge to it. I love that.
Well, what I do though is I create a 1080p timeline, which is way too big for the Blab.
Okay.
But when you have a single thing, you fill up sort of its, like the old TV sort of dimensions. It fills that, but then there's just the boxes on each side. So so I fill that up, and only reason I do that so I can do our title in full screen.
Oh yeah,
the weekly catch up, it comes up and fills up the whole screen.
Yeah, which is cool. No, I love that.
Then when this goes to 2 screens, it goes to the little smaller one, so we can use ours top and bottom. Then there's still a little bit at the side, but then it's still got because people still like to see that big widescreen thing, even if you've got just 2 normal screens in the middle. But as long as you've got something on either end of it, and plus, whether to do or not, I like doing it. I thought, well, there was all that space, I might as well do something with it.
Oh no, that's something that was beyond my scope. And when I first saw what you were doing, I'm like, man, that rocks. And then you make it rock more each time, it seems like, because you know all those different little things. And I have worked with video so little that I'm just like, every time I see something, it's amazing all over again.
Well, now the only problem is I've got to surprise you with the next one and do something different, haven't I?
Well, yeah, but see, I have to resort to stuff like this. So.
Well, that's right.
or being in a different place now. Now I'm back to the skeleton in the closet. So.
Well, that's right. Yeah. So back home again. So you had a nice, safe trip home, did you? So that was good.
Yes. It was great. We had a real good time. Like you say, kind of took our time coming home on Friday, and this time got something to eat. Came home and relaxed the overnight, and then I had to go to work the next day. So it worked out well. I got me a new cup while I was there, while I was on the road.
Oh, Darth Vader, is it? The
Expressions of Vader.
Yeah, all the same.
The expressions, yeah. Like
somebody trying to tell you something.
Yeah, angry, sad. I don't know. I found it's a big old cup too. And of course, I have some chai tea in it, hot, of course, like all good tea should be. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's why you've got to drink it, because these people who can have tea and go and I don't mind real stone cold coffee. It's like ice, but I don't like cool coffee. It's got to be hot, and same with tea. Don't mind if it's freezing cold, because you have cold tea, but it's either hot or it's cold.
Well, I tried cold tea the other day again. Problem is it was really strong. There's this place that you can eat. It's like a Louisiana style chicken place called Popeyes. Okay. And so one of the things that you can do is they said, hey, would you like, for $2.99, would you like a gallon of sweet tea? Well, I don't, but my wife loves it. My wife loves it for $2.99 and for $3. It's not bad. So I said, well, yeah, I'll throw that in there. So I took it home, and she said, here, try this. And she knows I don't like it. And then she goes, oh, you're going to try it? Yeah, I'll try it. And I took a drink of it. And not only was it, I knew what I was getting, but it was so incredibly strong. I mean, they make it really, really powerful. And I was like, whoa, it just confirmed again that I do not like cold tea.
No,
as I said, American, but still.
I don't have it out of choice. It's just sometimes, like a coffee, it's only because it's been set there, you've come back and it's been there for an hour, and then it's cold. But I'd rather it's stone cold to be able to drink it than warm, or it's just not drinkable when it's sort of not hot or not cold. But as you do, I prefer not to have the cold stuff either. So, but I'm not one of the generation that thinks tea can be cold and served in bottles.
No. Yeah, you can just buy it like out of vending machines and everything here. The only thing I've ever found that there was one that was, I think Lipton makes it, and it's a green tea, but it has such a citrusy, probably half of it is some type of a citrus type of a thing, and it's actually sweetened and everything, and it's actually not tasting like tea. It's closer to a non-carbonated Sprite thing or something. I don't know, but it is actually tea. So I like that one. Okay. But when it comes to just cold tea, that's just wrong.
I don't know what I've done now. I've just lost you now. Are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm still here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't see you. I've done something wrong. What have I done? Oh, I know what you know what I did? I had the old Blab screen underneath, and I tried to move you up a little bit, but I've just got the one I aimed it because it just looked like it was just a continuation. So I've touched and brought that one to the front and think, how have I done that? You're still there. Yeah, because I thought, how can I still be speaking? And hang on, I'm not going to do it again. There, brought it up to the top there.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I thought I may be a little bit late because I go and visit my mother, you know, in the residential care home, and when it's not raining and that, I always take the dog.
Right.
So, but when I can, I always walk up there and walk back. So the dog came, and we thought, I'll get back. And I was just, you know, it's because it's winter here, and just was stepping in near the front door. I got one drop of rain just on my head, and now it's pouring. So you might hear it. It's chucking it down. It's howling a gale. And I thought, gee, I just made it in time, but just lucky I had an appointment for 8 o'clock because I walked that little bit faster coming back because I thought, I better walk a bit quicker. And little did I know I would have been soaking wet if I'd dilly-dallied a bit anyway. So
it's all in the timing.
Yeah, that's right. But what I do, I don't know about you, but when I do things like that, so I can walk the dog, but also so I can listen to some podcasts.
Sure, yeah.
Because if you drive, you get there in 5 minutes and you don't have time. It's it's not worth getting the thing on, getting into it and switching it off again. Whereas if it takes you 20 minutes, you've got a decent one. I like listening to Leo Laporte. It's the Mac Break Weekly, and that's just uploaded. And that, do you listen to things like that, or?
Well, the way I do it exactly the opposite. Where I live at, I'm not within walking distance of anything because I live out in the woods. You know, I guess I could walk down the road and around a church parking lot and get some exercise that way, but there's nothing within walking distance of where I'm at. I live up on a mountain, but I have a 40-minute drive to work.
Yes.
So going to work and from work, I can get a good hour and something podcast in. And what I'm finding is that, and I have a phone I can listen to them on, but most of the time it's on a Kindle.
Oh, okay.
I have them on a Kindle Fire, and that's where most of the I just plug that in a car on the way to work. But I also have Bluetooth headphones and a telephone that I could actually listen to at work if I wanted to, if there wasn't so many people around. And where I'm one of the older employees, a lot of times I find that other employees, younger employees, are asking me about. We work in an area that works a lot of out-of-state mail, and so there are these. It's set up a transportation route instead of, it's kind of in order by number, but then there'll be something 300 numbers off that's in the same state because it's right across the border. And there's some things it's impossible until you get experience to know where they're at. And so there's constant conversation going on. And so I don't get to listen as much at work. No. But, I can get a good, hour and a half in a day almost of listening to podcasting on the way to and from work. And then I rarely do it when I'm at home. When my wife's in the car, she's not really into listening to podcasting too much. But like I said, occasionally I'll do it at work.
It's funny you should say, well, you're listening to that. I used to work back in 1998, from 95 to 98. I think I worked in Melbourne in the city. And that was sort of about, easy 50-minute, 60-minute drive every day, stuck in traffic or a bit longer. And I actually, when I left that job and got something else that was 10 minutes away, I really missed the drive because you get so set into your routines and say, oh, good, I can sit down and listen to that. But even that was way before sort of podcasts were about, but I still listened to certain things. I got tapes in or used to put, I had an audio cassette, remember those things?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the last car that I sold still had a cassette player in it.
Well, I mean, my last car I just bought doesn't even have a CD player in it. They've got rid of them.
Wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. No, we still have CD players. The newest car we have, it's a 2011. It's that one that we took on the trip with us. Stays in the garage most times, so it's still almost brand new. It will play regular CDs, and then you can put a data CD with like 200 MP3s on it, and it'll play the MP3s off of a CD. And so that was made, around the time when all this was coming in, but you can still plug in, your phone or whatever device you have and actually play things over it too. So it's kind of an in between. Uh,
Yeah, because I wish I'd had these things like the the podcast back then,
Mhm.
because I really did enjoy. I used to look for going home. Oh, stuck in the car, but you got used to you could do these things, listen to these things which you would never listen to normally. Because once you get home, there's always things to do. And
Sure.
like nowadays, when you've got these MP3s and podcasts, I quite often think, oh, I've got to do the gardening. Oh, but I'll listen to that podcast that goes for 2.5 hours. Then at least it kills two birds with one stone. You can be listening. You can be still doing that and listening away.
That's what is so cool about podcasting itself is that yes, video is perfect. Like I watch most YouTube stuff by sitting down on the couch and on our regular big screen TV. We have a Roku, and I'm subscribed to your channel and other channels and stuff. And I sit down and there's people that I like to watch their stuff, and I watch it the same way I would watch television.
Yeah, I do too.
That's the way I do the video. Podcasting is something you listen to while you're doing other things that don't require, they require visual stuff like when you're driving, but it's something you can listen to. And it's on demand too, and it starts and it stops. I'll listen to half the show on the way to work, other half of the show on the way back home, as far as like listening to the podcasting. So it's really good. But you were talking about how close you live to things. My entire life, I have lived out in the country somewhere, except when I first got married. And so I was used to a 45-minute ride to school. And because we went to a school in another town because it was a private school and stuff like that. So, we did that. And when we first got married, we got an apartment in town and I was 7 minutes from work. And so it took me a half an hour once I got to work. I worked in an office environment. It took me a half an hour just to even get my head wrapped around what I was doing, because I was used to that drive and mentally preparing myself.
Yeah. So you were still in the home. You still thinking you was at home because it was only 7 minutes ago that you were there.
Right. And what's weird is, okay, I'm asleep, then I'm in the shower, then I'm sitting at my desk. It was this just flash, and I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, oh, what am I doing now? And then it would just take me a while to, even to this day, I have to have time to wrap my head around what I'm doing. I could, if you give me an hour, I can build you an atomic bomb probably, but to make a quick decision, no, it's over. Because I'm a thinker. I spend time thinking and planning a lot. So
well, it's funny when I did that, when I changed from the city and got a job close by, and the job entailed me starting at 8:30 and finishing at 4:30. And I would get home by 10 to 5, and I just couldn't. It was like I got a whole week back because I wasn't even leaving the other job until 5 o'clock, and then I had an hour and a bit in the traffic. But I thought I was home by 10 to 5. It was like gained a week back already, as when you got. But even then, I wasted a lot of that time because you couldn't believe it. You didn't. So what do you do? Because you did all your plan. Thought, no, I don't want to do that, and you just usually lazed around and did nothing. And it was quite strange. You end up and I had one time where I was saying about distance with horses. I had horses for many years, and they've never been close by. So they're maybe 40 minutes drive or somewhere. When I was riding at least 5 days a week, going from work, going to the horse, and coming home. And then one time I got the horse adjusted just around the corner here, which is about 3 minutes away. I couldn't get down there more than twice a week. Because it's too close to home. Whereas the other one, you had to go from work there. I'll just nip home first and go. Once you got home, you just couldn't go. There's always something crops up, but if you go there first,
well, it requires a commitment to actually go do it. And so you were committed to go do that. And so it's an event for you. Whereas what's one of the things I've noticed too, people who live further from work are never late.
And the people who live about just 50 yards away, they're never on time.
No, exactly, because they always do it. They always just try to wait till the last second. I even sometimes will get caught by a train. There's a certain place, there's a train. There'll be a wreck on the interstate highway, and you'll get caught. I mean, there's times whenever it just doesn't. And I actually leave probably 50 minutes. And that gives me about 10 or 15 minutes to get to my locker, unless there's a wreck somewhere, some type of a traffic holdup, which doesn't happen much since I go to work in the late evening. There's really very little traffic and less chance of things like that happening. But there's been times whenever there would be construction or something I didn't know about, and I can completely reroute and still make it to work on time because I leave in enough time to get there.
Well, mine does too. And I get into work sometimes after there's been a wreck somewhere, like you said, and I get in and say, I'm sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, and
it's still 5 minutes before I'm supposed to start. So, well,
exactly.
But I always like to get in at least 20 minutes before I start, because I like to sit down, have a coffee, settle in, have everything ready to go by the time you start work. I don't like to get in there and prepare after you, because people will phone up, and if you start off your day like that, you're always chasing your tail. I think to do that. But if you start off, get already set up, just put that little bit of extra time in yourself. It makes your day go so much nicer.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it's a whole lot better. You remember the demo I told you about last week that I had done? It's like about 29 seconds. They have to be like 30 seconds. I went ahead and put it in the Dropbox. I don't know if you'd had a chance to listen to that. I was popping it
No, it's funny you should say that, because I just switched on when I switched on the computer, I said, what's this GI11 demo? And then, that's right. Geoff's been because it just said I've just downloaded it from Dropbox on my, and I hadn't been on. I thought, that's right. He's put something on there. So I haven't listened to it. But it runs an hour ago.
It runs really, really quickly because it has to get in about 30 seconds, but it's pretty fun.
What is it? Can I run it now?
Oh, yeah, if you want to. Go ahead.
It won't come through. Oh, it helps.
No, it won't. But I think you will find it funny.
Let's see what it does. I can hear it. I can hear him saying about the big time smarty pants, and that's.
Listen to the end of it.
Yeah. Not very good entertaining if nobody else can hear it. So
that's true.
Yeah. That sounds really good.
All I did was I just put some stuff on the front end of it and the back end of it, and I actually took some actual audio from the show itself when she was in it.
It said if it was Ed Wirecast, I'd be able to do this, but let me see if I can do this, and let's see. We'll do this, and hopefully I don't sound too bad. So let's listen and see. Let's see if this can happen again. Let's get Miss Eileen Smarty Pants there.
Ms. Eileen Smith was on episode 11 of the Geoff and Jeffrey Show.
Jeffrey was saying all those wonderful things about me, so I was like, yeah, I'm a big-time Smarty Pants. Yeah, blogging and YouTube.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and so Jeffrey been telling me about you guys' show, and this is the first time I've been able to join, so I'm honored to be here.
You can find this episode at holbrooknewmedia.com/smartypants. holbrooknewmedia.com/smartypants.
Wasn't it? So I'll just sound back off there. So, yeah.
No, I mean, well, what happens is they do these on the feed, which is the Libsyn official podcast. They will do 3 30-second demos from shows that they host the files for. And of course, I'm on there. And I've had demos for the show before, but this is the first time I've ever done one specifically about an episode. And so I thought, well, she's on here, and she is well known in the podcasting community, and this is going out to podcasters. And so I thought, well, we might as well. And she's all into social media, so she would not have any problem and totally understand if I want to capitalize on her name and having it, doing a demo to let people know that she was on our show.
I can't see what people would have a problem, because if they do, they wouldn't be on here in the first place.
Oh, right. No. I've known her for a while. I helped her with her sound on Blab. whenever she was starting to do her podcast, doing her podcast recording on here. And so, yeah, we've known each other for a while. And so, no, there wouldn't be a problem with that. But the whole point, it promotes her the same as it does us.
Right.
And
if, as I said, if people have got a problem with that, they generally wouldn't be on here anyway. And they wouldn't be doing their own podcast. And as I said, if you do a podcast, well, that's the whole point. You want people to watch it. So if somebody picks it up, well, you really, I think you will probably agreed to do that by signing in, haven't we? You've probably said, well, you've agreed to it, and if you keep the recording and don't block it, well, anybody can drop that feed in because it's, you've agreed. And plus, this is the way this format works. If people don't share,
right,
well, that's what Skype's for.
That is true. Somebody I heard on the new media show that Skype has done something and changed the way that Skype is actually handled. Instead of the peer-to-peer type of system they've had, it's been now changed through something else to where it's a whole lot more reliable just over the last month or so than what it was before. Well, have you had trouble?
Funny, over the last month or so, it's been woeful and horrible.
Has it really? Well, I mean, there were some people here in the U.S. saying how great it had been. Everybody was surprised and wondered why it was so good. Maybe they only did that in the U.S. That's sad. That's the way a lot of things happen, but that's really sad. But they were just saying how great it was. So it's been worse down there.
Well, and not necessarily just me, but Rick and I in the show. The last few weeks, we've had to call each other 2 or 3 times before we've had a decent connection. And before we would very rarely have to. We'd just call and go through it. But there's been a few times where and the bandwidth has been fine on both ends, but the signals, it's just dropped out and off the video and done really bad things.
Well, I suppose speaking of tech down over, what did you all do this week?
We just talked about it and things. I think I'm just trying to make you host again, just in case I disappear. There you go.
Okay.
Well, I'm just trying to think what we did talk about because we just. I'll bring because I always have my little notes up, but we didn't have a guest this week. But like I said to Rick, I said sometimes I don't mind not having a guest because the whole point is we get there and have a chat about different things. And as I said, that's what me and you do. We just sort of have a chat about things. So one of the things I was talking about, the drones that they have these days, the drones, and people sort of don't like them, but they're not too bothered about them because they've just got sort of like wide angle lenses on them and that. Well, now the DJI has put in one that's got a 3 times digital optical zoom on it. And some people were getting the up in arms saying now they can zoom in on our thing, but there was of course, like when anybody does something else, there's this other company out there that's I'm just trying to think what's its name. It's called Walker, and they announced a Voyager 4 drone, and get this 4. One. Yeah, it's like the DJI Inspire. It's a copy of that, but probably half the price. But it's coming out with a 16 times optical zoom.
Oh boy. Well,
so you imagine that. That'd be very scary.
It kind of shocks me that they hadn't had zooms on them much before. I mean,
I think it's all to do with weight, but now they're getting more powerful, and now the batteries are lasting longer. They can push the thing a little bit more weight they can take.
Okay.
But this thing, the really worrying thing about this one is, like most of them, it's got about a mile's distance on the remote control.
Okay.
The frightening thing is the remote control on the drone is 4G compatible. So you can decide to use the 4G network instead of your Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So you could be in a different state and control it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Or I could be in a different country. But like if you could dial it up the phone, but you'd pay the thing. But as I said, that'd be highly illegal for the FAA rules and that. But I mean, people who do bad things don't care about that, do they? So that's quite frightening.
Well, no. When it comes down to obeying the law, the only people that obey the law are people who aren't lawbreakers. So
that's what it is.
Every time they say, "Oh, we need to stop people from breaking the law in this way, and we're going to make the law more restrictive," the only people it restricts are the people who are following the law anyway, because What do they care about breaking the law if that's what they were doing already?
What annoys me is, well, when they do break the law and they catch them, they put them on a good behavior bond. So if they're naughty, they'll get into trouble. So, but that's what we all live on already. We've got to be good, or else we get punished. Said,
that's a valid point.
He said that isn't that what life is all about? So we're putting you on a good behavior. Now you be good for 2 years. So well, you're supposed to be good all the time. How can they say so? Be not so horrible for 2 years and then go back to but that just annoys me when they get good behavior bonds. And I think, well, you were supposed to be nice all the time, aren't you? You're supposed to be good, not just because the court told you to be nice for 2 years. So.
Yeah, well, so, okay, now I promise I'll be nice for 2 years. Well, it shouldn't require that. But I think the reason why they kick people out of prison all the time is simply because there's so many people in prison that they're trying to reduce the population. So they take a bunch of people and kick them out. And it basically raises the bar for what you can actually get away with and still not be in prison. And of course, I imagine what they will probably do is, I think in West Virginia, a lot of the people in prison had to do with drug offenses and things like that. And like we were talking about marijuana a couple shows ago, I do believe that it's not going to be long before all of that will be legalized.
Yeah, just to keep them out, because they said if it depends who they're hurting, and that's
it's a win-win for the government because they have fewer people in prison and they make tax revenue off of it. So instead of losing money taking care of all these people, they get paid for not doing anything with them. So it actually makes economic sense to do that, whether a person agrees with the drugs being legalized or not, but they're going to do it. And once it all comes down to tax revenue, how much money they can make, and the government seems to operate a lot on that. They're like, hey, how much are they going to cost us, or how much can we make? That's usually their main bottom line, literally, on every decision they make. It's not so much about the citizens, it's about how much money they can either save or make.
Well, I suppose if it wasn't like that, cigarettes would have been banned years ago because they're so bad for us.
Yeah, but they make a lot of money off of it.
A lot of money. Yeah, that's right. So there's you're not going to stop them too soon. And like you said, if the cigarettes are too bad and people are put off, then they've got another source of revenue for that. But it does get to a point where, where, as I said, they release people and put people inside, but you just can't see the justification for the different sentences these days, because you see somebody who's been really horrible and a nasty person put away for 10 years or something, and somebody else has been put away for 10 years. They've done a criminal act, but they're not bad people. You know what I mean? They might have stolen something or defrauded, but they're not evil people. You know what I mean? They might have done a bad thing. And so but I sometimes think for the people who do these laws and that, because it'd be so hard, just the likes of me can't say, that's bad. I thought there's a lot to think about, but you thought, how do they justify all the things? But there must be some rational thing. But as I said, when some people can murder somebody and they haven't, they're just, they put them inside for 20 years for defrauding the IRS because they just don't like. But hey, most of me and you wouldn't think that was evil, would we? Yes.
You know who Martha Stewart is, right? Okay. Well, she ended up spending a little bit of time in what you might call prison. It was actually here in West Virginia where she stayed. And this place is so tough. They call it's a women's prison. They call it Camp Cupcake. And so she spent, I can't remember how many months over there, because the sentence was such a short slap on the wrist. It was for insider trading or something. She had somehow gotten some advanced information and then traded some stocks, so she had to spend some time in prison. Well, I heard somebody comparing what Martha Stewart actually had to serve time compared to Hillary Clinton, who all these emails are coming out saying she broke this law and she broke that law and things like that, and they're not even, the FBI is not even interested in really checking into it. And so people are comparing Martha Stewart's sentence for maybe having overheard something to Hillary Clinton, supposedly this email thing. And again, I haven't gotten into that too much, but it is an interesting thing that it is okay for presidents, and her husband theoretically lied under oath to a grand jury. Now, if I did that, I'd probably be thrown in jail.
Yeah,
but
that definitely would.
But the shocking thing is they don't care if people know they lied, or even if they broke the law, or, again, that's all alleged until some conviction would happen. But I mean, they don't care if people know, back in the old days, they try to hide it. I mean,
well, that's right.
But now it doesn't matter if they know you lied or if they know you broke the law. It really doesn't matter.
It's used as a badge of honor.
Evidently so, And in Trump, of course, he just says all the harsh things he's thinking. And so you have somebody who's theoretically breaking the law, or somebody who's mean. So who are you going to vote for? I mean, everyone all over the place, they are saying, that, I mean, this has to be the worst setup that we've had for a long, long time on who are you going to vote for? People are starting to look at some of the third party candidates, like the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. And, go ahead.
But is that around about the 15th of November or something? You'll know, is it something around then?
Yes. Let's see. November. Somebody to me it was a 2nd. I'll have to pay attention.
It's early November sometime. It usually is, isn't it?
I know it's right. Our anniversary is on the 18th of November, which, by the way, is also Mickey Mouse's birthday. We found out later.
Oh, so that was good. On a famous person's birthday, then.
Yeah. Well, I tried to get her to wear mouse ears under her veil. No, she wasn't interested in that. No. But it was. But it's earlier in the month than what our anniversary is. So. Anyway, right in there somewhere. But yeah, some people are saying, well, if you don't vote for Trump, then it's a vote for Hillary. And if you don't vote for Hillary, it's a vote for Trump. If you vote for one of these third party people. But there is possibility, though, if the Libertarians or the Green Party or whatever, I think they're the two probably bigger parties, even though they're marginalized. If they get a certain percentage of the vote because of the dissatisfaction on both sides, they then will be ranked as a major party.
Oh, okay.
Never happened before.
No.
So all of a sudden you get the Democrats, Republicans, and the Libertarians. They're ranked right with them. They get in debates with them and everything else. So suddenly you've got 3 parties or 4 parties. This could change the face of things, even if Trump or Hillary win. Because they have another certified major party in the country.
I don't know how it works there, but here, if they all voted for those parties, but like here, how it works is it doesn't make much difference, because if you all vote for them, it depends on which one of those candidates has wooed those parties, and they give their votes preferences to them. So they still get in so they'll say, no, we'll support Trump or we'll support Hillary. So if they either support one or the other candidates, no matter what. So you can't say, oh, well, I don't like either, I'm going to vote for them. Well, you're still voting for that because you know that they put their preferences towards that party. So,
well, the thing is, we don't directly elect the president. The way the governmental system is set up in this country, you have the only direct representatives of the people are the House of Representatives. Those are by district within the states. I think we have 3. I think in West Virginia, 3 districts, and we directly elect them. The senators, then, there's 2 senators from each state, and that is the representative of the state, not of the people of the state, Then the president is not elected by the people directly, because they're not the people's president. They are the CEO of the party. And so the president's supposed to look for the whole country. The senators look at the welfare of their state as a whole. Then the House of Representatives are direct representatives of the people themselves. And so each one has their own little thing to do, but people say, well, it should be a direct vote for the president. He's not our president. He's actually the CEO over the Senate. That's why only the Senate can confirm or deny an appointee of the president. because that's the corporation part of it. And so people don't understand and think that we should be directly doing the president. If you don't, we have an electoral college. We vote for representatives that then go and cast a vote for the president based on the state, and what. So that way each state has its own say on who they want to be president. If you take away the electoral college, then all of a sudden the cities would elect the president every time. And the countryside would have nothing to say. If you have a particularly rural state like my state, Philadelphia, New York, and all the populations of those things would run over state borders, and we would have no say at all in the president. But as it is, the Electoral College sets it up to where West Virginia, a small rural state, we have votes. How many votes we have is based on our population, but we get to say who we want to be the president.
We want them.
And that's the Electoral College is the only thing that makes that happen.
I suppose ours is similar. We don't vote for the prime minister. We vote for the party, but they're the ones that just get to encourage you to vote for them, and you vote for your local member, and then however many seats. The same way as yours maybe sounds a little bit different, but it is pretty much the same way there. But it still is. It's still on the number of seats, not necessarily like you said, the number of seats, not necessarily how many people voted for that party. One party could have had more people voted than the other one, but the one gets more seats, more areas.
Right, so, because of the population of those individual areas. So Alfredo's in here. Well, he
not
wasn't
anymore.
Oh, Alfredo jumped out. I just saw the movement and looked over there.
I just saw that. I did too, and I thought, no, there you go.
He probably got tired of us talking about politics, but anyway, that's the way it's set up. So who knows? And some states, like West Virginia, is really funny. We have had a heavy Democratic predominance of people here, as opposed to Republican. But it has been, how long has it been since we've gone for a Democratic president? Because the Democrats here are very conservative Democrats. They are not liberal Democrats the way the national Democrats are. And so, so you have all these Democrats, but then they have a tendency to go and vote conservatively, which is kind of an interesting arrangement.
I said it's so here, like we said, have the the Liberals and the Labour, but they're all pretty similar. It's hard to distinguish what they do. They all seem to do the same thing. Where there used to be years ago such that big divide, like you could all. But there's not that big divide anymore, because I don't know about there, but say the Labour Party here always used to be for the workers and trying to get and the Liberal Party was all for the people who've got the money. But now it's turned around. Now all the politicians who are the Labour ones fighting for the working people, while they're the people who've got the money now. So they don't want to do anything that's going to screw up that thing. So they're all sort of pretty even.
We have the same thing going here, is that the Democrats were always considered for the working person. The Republicans were always considered for the businesses who supposedly made the jobs that the working people did. Well, what's funny is the Democratic candidate, Hillary Clinton, the last count I saw, she had 30 times the money that Trump had to get elected. And so to me, there's a simple thing that could really, I know we're talking politics, there's a simple thing that could change everything. Term limits for everybody. Because right now the president has term limits. They can be in there, for 8 years, for 2 terms. The senators and the House members can just go forever. And so these long-term lobbyist relationships that they make, the deals they make with each other, all this kind of stuff going on is all set up based on the fact, and then they gain and they make more money, themselves get more personal power because they're in there so long. If you did term limits, limited everybody to a couple terms, maybe the way the president is, you would eventually have citizen legislators.
And let's face it, those people are the ones who run the country anyway, aren't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, and you have these dynasties, that are running it, multiples in the same families and stuff. And so it's really an interesting thing that they come up with this system to where you could actually have matching funds for whatever you could raise, so you could actually run for office. And the point was people who aren't rich could actually get government assistance in running for president. The only problem is it's set up so much that the rich people still figured out how to leverage that, and the average person like me, for instance, I work more than 40 hours a week. I do some overtime, stuff like that. If you're working, you don't even have time to run or work for local office.
No, because it is a full-time commitment to try for that, isn't it? You can't just say, I want to run, and just in your spare time you'll do it, because you'll never get in.
Right.
But it's a time commitment.
The only middle class people that you ever find running may be my next door neighbor is running for a state seat in our state, and he is a contractor, so he owns a business and has people working for him doing the actual work and stuff. Not saying he never does, but he then, because his business is running, he has time to actually go and do it. He's been running around and doing an awful lot of charity work. There was that flooding thing here, and he's been running around doing a lot of that. But it's so if you can be middle class and have your own business more or less, and if that's the case, you have people that work for you, then you do have time. You can leverage your time a little easier. For me, I have a steady schedule. I have to work, I have to sleep, then I have to, do whatever.
And then, like you said, it's for a purely voluntary thing. So even if it was a paid thing, it would be a pittance.
Right.
So not enough where you could say, I'll give up full-time work and do that. It's a lot of the political thing is for the love of the place. There's not a huge amount of money rewards on it. From, like they said, from what the president gets to somebody in a mediocre business that's high up the chain would probably get a lot more, wouldn't they?
Well, if I was going to be, even at my income level, if I was going to be a state representative or state senator, I would have to take a cut in pay in order to do that. And now they only work 3 or 4 months a year or something like that. They have a session. They might have 2 sessions a year. I'm not exactly sure, but I know they're off for months at a time. They just have this session and this next session. I think it's like every year. I can't remember how many months it is that they actually do legislation. Well, then they're off the rest of the time. But that's why a person that has their own business can do that.
Because they can stop and start when they feel like it.
Oh, exactly. So there's there's the session, and then they do that. So yeah, it's supposed. What's funny is all the rules that have been set up so that the average citizen can do this, and yet it was completely taken over by people who don't need the money; they just want the power. And so people who need money and people who do these grandiose things in history don't generally work for a living. Like, people talk about Teddy Roosevelt. Most people, I guess, in the United States would know who Theodore Roosevelt was, or one of our presidents, the Rough Riders and San Juan Hill and all that stuff. Well, he was constantly doing things, these great and grandiose things, only because he didn't have to spend his days making a living all the time. The way he described it was, he said, my father left me some money, and so I have bread on the table. Now, if I want jam on my bread, then I had to go get to work. And so he wrote books and did a lot of things like that. But that's why he was free to go and do things instead of just working this many hours a week for survival, like most of us do.
Yeah, anyway, politics is such a strain. But as I said, I still prefer our thing where they can start it and finish it in 12 weeks it's gone. Like by the time me and you've just been talking about the elections in the past few weeks, we've had they've called an election, had an election, and it's been solved, whereas yours has still been going for the past 2 years. Oh, totally.
Well, long longer than that, actually. There were people making noises the week after the election was over with.
And then the moment somebody gets elected in November, then they'll get put in January. And then the moment they get in, they'll start campaigning for they get settled in. They get settled in for the first year. Then in that next year, they'll think they'll do a little bit. And then by the June of that year, they'll start preparing for the re-election, won't they? So I don't know how they get anything done, because out of the 2 terms, they've probably spent nearly 4 years or 3 years of their 8-year term campaigning.
No, exactly. What we have our House of Representatives, and it took me a while. I didn't realize that this was actually in the Constitution itself. The House of Representatives terms are only 2 years.
Oh, okay.
So you spend pretty much the whole time campaigning. But there was a reason for that. And the reason why is whenever big things happen, public opinion will swing real hard to the right or swing real hard to the left. And then after a while, because everybody's like, oh, because they're afraid or whatever. And so since they are the representatives of the people, you end up with this big mood swing, this big public thing. Well, if there's a big event like 9/11 or something like that, and they rush in and elect people that's going to solve this problem, and all of a sudden whenever in the light of day, it's kind of like, wow, we were feeling so extreme. That's what controls the public opinion and keeping them for 4 years making this huge swing in one direction or the other. It promotes stability if they're only in there for 2 years. Now, the senators, being the representatives of states, they have 4-year terms. And they usually overlap, every 2 years. But if the terms were more than 2 years in the House of Representatives, the House or the country would be making some hard charging, going in one direction or another after people calmed down from whatever happened and realized it was time to be, not as reactionary to what was going on. But then you would have 3 more years of the reactions, because of public mood swings. And so it promotes stability by only having 2-year terms in the House of Representatives.
But as I said, we've still got a few more months of that. There's August, September, October, 2 more months, really, haven't we?
Yeah. But it'll seem like 6.
That's right. Yeah. So and we'll have to see what happens there. You know what? I've been getting hooked on this week as well. Like we were talking earlier about YouTube. What I've been hooked on is just watching these people going and looking at abandoned places.
Abandoned places.
Like I've been seeing, there was this one that says this mansion that somebody must have gone bankrupt and they've just left it and it's been there empty for 4 years. And all the stuff is still inside and people go into it and all these places like, abandoned hospitals that's brand new, that's never been used. It's all in America.
Well,
it's just quite,
well,
like here, if there's anything like that here, they tend to just, if somebody leaves it abandoned, they'll bulldoze it. It won't stand there, but they seem to just And there's one that was a bankrupt tennis star's mansion was going through that's all water damage, and I thought, gee, all these. But I just get hooked, and then once you've seen one of them, the suggestions once you've seen it is all other things like that, and you think, oh, that looks interesting, and you see all these different ones that they go into, and this other old one which had a whole theater in it, with all these seats and just hundreds of seats in it, and I thought, my goodness, there's a lot of things in this. And there's this one place I went into was an abandoned funeral home in Florida, and upstairs there was about half a dozen caskets there, and I thought they're about $30,000 or $40,000 a piece. And I wondered why nobody'd stolen them or so, or maybe they were made of plastic and they were just representations of a casket.
No, I've been in a casket room, and those are actual real caskets that you get to look at, and they're made of steel or they're made of wood. You can actually carve type caskets of wood, and they do make a general plastic casket too. I've seen a couple of those, but it's they're not really that much. The caskets aren't here. They're not.
But also, as well, maybe it's just one of those things people think you can't say, oh, I'll just pick that up down the street like you do a bicycle or something else. It's sort of a limited market I'm sure everybody would know where they came from. But it was just quite interesting to see these places that they just up and leave. And this place still had the electricity on.
Oh,
and they were
okay.
quite shocked. They said, and this house I saw that it had a grand piano in it as well. Everything else was deserted. And somebody's painted on the side this lovely grand piano, and it's just amazing. But I thought I've been hooked on that, and as I said, no, don't watch the next one. Oh, that looks interesting.
Well, you have a situation where you're living in this place or you're running your business in this place, then you end up having to file bankruptcy. or, whatever. Sometimes people just have to leave and disappear, but what happens is the amount of money it would take to liquidate the place, it's easier just to walk away and take the loss, because you would have to take the loss and $50,000 to liquidate the place, because you'd have to hire people to haul that piano off. You'd have to hire people to do all these things. And so it's just easier to walk away from it than it is to walk away and pay somebody to liquidate it.
But what amazes me, though, if after that, I know if I was the bank and somebody had walked away on that and I had that, well, I'd certainly keep sell it to somebody for a bargain. If it's going to sit there, go to ruin, I would say, yeah, I know I need $300,000 for it, but it's going to get if somebody will give me $100,000, that'll be better than it being worth $50,000 when it's wrecked to pieces and that. So sometimes somebody will die and then it's tied up between several heirs and they're fighting, and the court, that's court stuff. Whenever you have heirs that are fighting, or they call it in receiverships, what they call it here, that can go on for decades, and yet no one can touch the place. No one can tear the place down. No one can maintenance the place. I mean, there's no one allowed to get their hands on it to actually keep it running, to do repairs, because no one really owns it. Yeah, so it's still in dispute.
And it could have been paid off by the estate, but the house itself is in dispute, and so it just is limbo.
But it just, when I see these things, I'll just get a crying shame. I just think surely to see these places, and you just sort of think, that's why I think it fascinates me to think how some of these places, how great they were and proud somebody would have been to call it home, and now if they were to see how wrecked it was. And that's and I thought they've fallen on, because like you said, they've gone bankrupt. Most of these houses they've fallen on hard times, and you thought that's a good thing about never being rich. You don't have anything to fall down from that much. Whereas I would think if you got that, it'd be so devastating if you lost it, if you had everything you could possibly want and then didn't have it. But so a lot of these people, that's why they are rich. They gamble with it. Sometimes it pays off, but more than not, you don't hear too many of that. But it doesn't work. Some people make a living out of it and do very well, but other people just make the wrong investments and sometimes you just can't help it.
Well, the higher up you are, the more incredible the thud when you hit bottom.
Wow. Well, we had the fella here. Don't know if you heard of him, Kerry Packer, who owned one of the most popular TV stations here.
Hadn't heard that.
He'd owned this. Him and his family had owned this TV station for years, and then he was sort of a bit in trouble. Not in trouble, but when somebody wanted to buy it in the heyday, they said, you can't sell it, it's been in the family. So he sold it years ago, before, when $1 billion was unheard of. Well, he sold it for $957 million or something in the heyday. He signed that. And then the fellow who got it, he was the one who bankrolled the America's Cup thing. When the Australia won the America's Cup, he was the one who sort of bankrolled that and did all that.
Cool.
Well, he didn't do very well after that, and he was the one who bought the TV station. But then this fella bought it back again off him for $250 million. So he got the family business back. But I thought, gee, he just had that much money. He knew he could do better. He could survive, and he used to go to Las Vegas, and they used to hate him going there because this fella was a billionaire, but he knew how to gamble. He said, not like me and you, I'll spend $50. He said, and he used to go there and spend $50 million. But he knew if he had that much, he's going to win. But he knows with that amount of money, but he said he might lose a lot, but he knew he had a lot, but he always used to come out on the top. But so what does his family do now? They own a casino. No, he's his son, but they do very well. But I mean, they're the sort of people who are so smart, but when they gamble, it's not a gamble because they know if they lose it, they're not betting the ranch on it, really, are they? They just do enough that if they lose, they can afford to lose it. They're smart people.
A few years ago, there was this group of small companies that got together in Florida and bought the number of tickets that the odds are for you to win.
Oh, okay.
and just hit consecutive numbers of the, if the odds are 1 in 300,000, they bought the number of tickets to win.
Yeah,
I mean, they bought one of everything, and they didn't just win the main jackpot, because you have the main jackpot, and then there's some lesser things that you can win if you match, 6 numbers, you match 5 numbers, you match 4 numbers, and they obviously knew they were going to win to start with, and so they went ahead and started a corporation between them, and bought and put the money in, bought all of those tickets, and then got all that money. I mean, it was a sure thing. There wasn't any, some of it, if somebody else happened to make one of the other numbers or whatever and take a little bit of it from them, but I don't even think that happened. I think they were the only ones that won. And so it was an investment. They just went in there. They took the number that it said on the back of the ticket, this many 100,000, one in however many, and they bought that many tickets, consecutive numbers, and won it all.
And that's the thing, but you have to have a bootload to put it in to get it out again. But as I said, the likes of you and me will never do that, because we're just too conservative with our bets, and that's why I never understand how horse racing can be such good thing for people to bet on. Because I could put $1,000 on a horse race, and even at the best result, I might get $15,000-$20,000, but that's not enough for me to gamble $1,000. If I want to gamble $1,000, I want 10 million to come out of it, or the thought of it. But even the thought of just 20,000 for putting 1,000 is not, to me, it's not a gamble. It's just silly. I'm not going to risk that. I wouldn't do. Whereas I don't mind putting on, a $20 things a month for the tax lotto, or a lotto thing that could give you. It probably costs you more than $1,000, but it's a mindset. You can keep going on that, and you think you might win a lot. But hey, I've never won anything on it. But I've just resigned the fact I'm not the sort of person who's deemed to be able to. I'm not born to win a lot of money. So just accept that, and if you do, you'll be happy. But just accept what you're being given.
Well, it's kind of like the stock market. People call that gambling, but it's something that you just do over the extreme long term, and then when it comes time to retire, I think in the United States, the stock market here, any 20-year period you choose to pick, whether it involves the Great Depression or anything else, the stock market made money. So, you just put a little bit. Now it's set up to where you don't have to have $1 million to actually invest in the stock market. You can do it out of your paycheck a little bit at a time. And over the long term, you make money. And what's funny is you make your money when the stock market goes down.
It's bad. And that's what always amazes me, is because they monograph. I said, hang on, it's like everything else. If somebody's got to have something to sell, but there's always got to be somebody there to buy it. So somebody's making money.
Right.
The person who's buying it cheap at the rock bottom, they're making the money. They said there's always something. And if that's what I think where they had the trouble in Japan with their economy, was because of their culture. If you were going bad and I could buy your stocks for a pittance, people wouldn't do that, because it was bad to make use, because that was ripping you off for 80% of your profit. And people wouldn't buy people's houses because their $200,000 house was going for $10,000, but they wouldn't buy it because it was dishonorable to do. Because that's taking advantage of them. But
Americans have absolutely no trouble taking advantage of other people.
I mean, that's the thing. Still got to work, or else, because they just leave. They said, "Well, what can they do? Somebody's got." So at least if there's the economy's got to go, somebody's got to buy it. And as I said, well, when shares go down in price, it's only because somebody's been prepared to sell them. And if they didn't, well, it won't go down. And it's only because somebody panics and sells them, and then somebody buys them at a cheaper price. That does that. And it's a bit like one of the companies I worked for when 1998, where the company got wound up, and all that was because people got frightened. They said, oh, okay, we don't want to sell. And then everybody they sold everything, but then there was debts, and they couldn't, because they lost confidence. People couldn't pay the bills, and that's the thing. It's like most companies have debt, and if they said, well, we're not supporting you, you've got to pay all the money back tomorrow, We wouldn't be able to do it because most
No.
businesses don't just spend the money and have it all in the bank waiting to pay for it. So,
Mhm.
but as I said, in bad times always creates new millionaires. There might be some people lose a lot, but that's where if you've got, you buy something, and then if you bought it at a pittance, well, you've got nothing to lose really if it doesn't go anywhere. But in most of the cases in these, you always get something out of it. Oh, it looks like our hour's up again.
Yes, I do believe it is.
Well, that's been good. As I said, I always look forward to our chat, and I'll hopefully get some footage done next week because I took the Osmo out on the bike to show around my local town, so might put that up a bit of a video anyway.
No,
anyway, so I'll just say thank you for all the people who came in. We did have one person come in to watch the live stream, but thank you.
He was in here one show before Alfredo was.
Yes, that's right. And it just went a little bit. So thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and so you can listen to this scintillating conversation every week. And
if
sure we'll have a political commentary when the election comes. We'll be covering it live. No, we won't really. So thanks again for watching. So
let me say one more thing. If you're listening on the podcast version of this and you want to see what we look like, you can come to the website holbrooknewmedia.com, and the video will be right there embedded on the page, and then you can go straight to YouTube and watch it from there, so you can actually see what we look like while we're talking.
That's right. So, but if that puts you off seeing us, please still listen to the podcast version later. So don't let that put you off.
We'll cover our faces.
That's right. I might get the just do a caricature and just move it slightly and just do that in the video and that. So.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyway, okay. So thanks again, and bye for now. See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening. Links for a free subscription, feedback, and everything else we do is at holbrooknewmedia.com. You can find all things Geoff Blanchard at geoffblanchard.com. Don't just blindly rush through your day. Think deeply today.